One thing I would say, it will sound trite, but it's not. And one is just to pay attention. So to actually pay attention to what really drives you and where your passions are, and to not dismiss that because you feel like you have another expectation that you technically are supposed to actually hit or supposed to fulfill. I mean, that's not to say that you should ignore those things. If you have a passion for something that doesn't seem feasible, you might have to think creatively about how to get to that, but to really pay attention to what those passions are. And then just to be able to also think creatively about ways to either be engaged in those passions, maybe as you're doing something else from a practical standpoint, or ways to move forward towards that in a bigger sense. The second thing I would say is actually similar, but more in the mental health realm of just paying attention to kind of how you're navigating on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I think if anything the pandemic has done, it's allowed many of us to just pay more attention to our emotional rhythms throughout the day and not just to barrel through without taking time to pause and say, okay, why is this thing really making me feel unsettled? Or why do I feel uncomfortable in this situation? Or why do I feel really riled up and frustrated by the situation? And to be able to kind of evaluate that and to use that to move forward, either in conversation with other people or just taking a step back and saying, okay, things that affect me emotionally are probably going to affect how I operate on a day-to-day basis. We don't have to pretend those things aren't there. We can acknowledge that and actually move through more effectively. And we can also get help if we need to. So not to be afraid to avail yourself to help if it's needed.